It was 326 BCE. The great Alexander of Macedon, conqueror of Persia, Egypt, and half of the known world, stood at the edge of the mysterious land called India. For 2 years, he had marched across deserts and mountains. Alexander's hunger for glory had no limits. He had heard of India, of its gold, its sages. When Alexander finally reached the plains of Punjab, the monsoon rains had already begun. But the news awaited him there of two rival Indian rulers beyond the great river of Hydaspes. One was Taxils, who welcomed Alexander as an ally. The other was Porus, the king of the land east of the river, proud, tall, and unwilling to bow to any foreign power. For weeks, the two kings faced each other across the roaring river. The Hydaspes, swollen by rain, lay between them like a living wall. By day, he paraded his army up and down the western bank, pretending to seek a ford. Porus followed his every move, shadowing him with elephants across the opposite shore. By night, Alexander's men returned to camp before dawn. Slowly, Porus's vigilance faded. His soldiers began to relax, believing the invader would wait for the floods to subside. Then, on one stormy night, Alexander struck. Under cover of rain and thunder, he led a chosen force of 11,000 men upstream through mud and darkness. At a hidden bend where a wooded island split the current, boats were assembled and launched. Rowers fought the waves. Many soldiers thought they had reached the far shore, only to find they had landed on the island itself. Beyond it lay another deeper channel. Alexander rushed his horse into the flood without hesitation. He shouted, "Follow me!" as the freezing, soaked soldiers jumped after him. By morning, they were standing on the eastern side of the Hydaspes, the far bank. They had entered the kingdom of Porus. When scouts brought the news, Porus acted swiftly, and the war began. Porus had a huge army and over 100 elephants, creatures the Greeks had never faced before. Opposite, Alexander's troops gathered. The battle burst open. Alexander's cavalry smashed Porus's left, breaking the chariots. Porus rushed horsemen from his right to help, but Coeus then struck that right wing from behind. The trap worked. Porus sent his elephants. They charged like thunder. Macedonian horses panicked and men were tossed in air. For a moment, Alexander's army looked ready to break. Then came the light troops to trap the elephants. Stabbing eyes and bellies, archers shot the elephant riders and injured elephants turned back. By afternoon, Porus's army was falling apart. Porus stayed on his elephant, injured by spears despite his wounds. When the animal fell and he was surrounded, he stopped fighting. Alexander, who had watched the king's valor with admiration, ordered that Porus to be brought to him and asked, "How do you wish to be treated?" "Like a king," Porus replied. Impressed, Alexander not only spared Porus but restored his kingdom to him and even enlarged it. Together, they became allies. Alexander named two cities to mark the victory: Nisaea for triumph and Bucephalus for his faithful horse who died that day. But the Hydaspes would be his last great battle. When he tried to march further east, his homesick soldiers refused, and so the man who had attempted to conquer the world turned back. Yet the story preserved by his Greek chroniclers ends too neatly. The one more reads their glowing accounts, the more questions arise. Was the battle truly the resounding triumph they describe, or partly a polished tale? All surviving versions come from Alexander's companions or later Greek historians, Arrian, Curtius, or Plutarch, each writing centuries after the fact, none from India itself. Indian records of this event are faint, if they exist at all. No Sanskrit chronicles speak of a king named Porus, leading some to wonder if that name was merely a Greek rendering of Puru or Purushottama, perhaps a local ruler whose story was reshaped to glorify Alexander. Even the details shift between sources. Some say Bucephalus fell from exhaustion, others that he was wounded by an Indian spear. Arrian prizes Alexander's mercy, while Curtius hints the battle nearly ended in disaster before being retold as victory. Was Porus's survival a gesture of respect or a sign of Alexander's defeat? Historians still debate what truly forced the Macedonians to stop at that point. Many versions say the soldiers were homesick and afraid of India's vast armies beyond the Ganges. Yet a darker possibility lingers. 2000 years later, the Hydaspes still flows through Punjab as a silent witness for that battle.